And tomorrow, I'm gonna work you until you can't get out of bed.
You are gay!
Motocross is a Disney Channel original movie that first aired in February of 2001, and let me tell you, this movie has a little sweetness to it. And it also has like a low-key, but like low-key for 2001, feminist message behind it, and it's kind of an iconic movie, and I really just want to talk about it because I feel like it's so LGBT coded, so let's just get into it. We meet our main character, Andrea Carson, who goes by Andy. She is a cheerleader, and she has a twin brother named Andrew, who is a professional motocrosser, bike rider. Girl, I really don't know what they call them. And in the first 5 minutes of this movie, we already see one of Disney's classic tropes, which is like an overbearing dad who is trying to live vicariously through the child, which in this case is the son.
Think how good you'll be if we do this every day until the first race.
Every day?
When I was racing, I got up at dawn and I rode until it was so dark I couldn't see. My father had to drag me inside.
But there's this competition coming up, and if they win, they get like this big sponsorship where they get this money and like new parts and bikes and whatever fancy stuff they get. So the dad really wants to win. So Andrew and Andy seem pretty close, as most twins are. And when the mom tells them that she and the dad are going to be going out into the city for the day, you would think that they're going to like do something crazy, like throw a big party. But plot twist, Andrew and Andy go out the next day and race together. Yeah, girls can ride dirt bikes too. Suck it. While they're racing, Andrew loses control and flies off his bike, injuring himself. At the hospital, Andrew is on crutches and their dad blames Andy. He also feels like racing is too dangerous for Andy since she's a girl, even though the son literally just got hurt. So like really, who is more at risk?
I've told you before, Andrea, I don't want you racing. It's too dangerous, okay?
So since Andy is out of commission, the dad is going to go fly overseas to try to find a new rider for the team or whatever. And Andy's like, well, dad, I can just do it. You know, I'm pretty good. I'm just as good as the boys. And he's like, I know, daughter, but
you're a girl and it's too dangerous. So, I have to go find someone else.
You know, very typical early 2000s, like, girls can't really do boy things. Later, a letter comes in the mail pretty much saying that the competition is being moved up a couple weeks, and everyone's kind of freaking out because the dad is in Europe and he's not going to make it in time. And we really get a glimpse into what living life was like in the early 2000s in this scene. Because normally, you would either call or text the dad's cell phone to let him know that this letter came in. Or really, probably a letter would even have been sent. They probably would have had a notification on their like phones or iPad or computer, whatever, or email. Even though it was 2001 and cell phones did exist, they weren't as common as they are today. So the dad doesn't have a cell phone. So the mom calls the dad on the landline phone and is calling his hotel, which first of all, long distance calling, I don't remember, because I know back in the day if you used to do long distance calls on your cell phone, you had to like dial the number a certain way, and like long distance calls were like hella extra a month. But I want to say back in the day, like if you were calling long distance on a landline, you had to speak to like a operator first. I can't remember because I was very young. In 2001, I was like 6. So like I wasn't making phone calls all the time. But people who are my age, I'm 29 now, let me know if you remember this.
Well, your father has left the first hotel already, and I have no idea how to get a hold of him.
Well, what about Telegram or FedEx?
I wouldn't even know where to send it. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and pray he calls.
Andy once again thinks about taking Andrew's place and racing for him, but Andrew warns her, even though she's just as good as the boys, if they see a chick,
You did not just call me a chick.
Sorry, girl.
out on the track, they're gonna go out of their way to like beat her and do like very nasty things to her. And she tests this theory out by going out to like this practice little course or whatever with some other guys, and they like intentionally knock her off her bike. Later, Andy disguises herself as her brother to get some new boots because her brother's doesn't fit her. And we're getting a first glimpse of Andy's boy persona that she's going to be playing throughout this entire movie. Kind of think of it as like the opposite of Drag Race. Things get a little awkward because Andrew actually comes into the shop to get some parts that he ordered with his mom. Andy's kind of like running away, like trying to avoid seeing her brother and her mom or whatever. And the cashier at the parts shop is kind of confused. He's like losing his mind. They're like gaslighting him, being like, No, you didn't see me without crutches. This is real. This is me. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But eventually, Andrew finally realized what's happening and he catches Andy and he takes off her hat and she has chopped off all of her hair. So instead of actually racing as herself, she plans to just be her brother and like race as him. Andrew doesn't really think it'll work, but he goes along with it and he promises not to say anything to mom or dad. And I kind of forgot to mention their other brother, Jason. He's the little brother. He's like really good at like fixing things. He's like a mechanic or whatever. And, you know, they force him not to say anything either. And I mention him because literally in the next scene, he immediately phones to the mom and he pretty much, you know, tells her about the entire plan.
I don't know anything. I promise. Mom.
So the mom originally says no, that she can't race, this isn't right, whatever. But then Jason, you know, kind of goes on this whole spiel about how in school he learned about women's rights and how, you know, women can do anything men can. You know, they had to give us a little good educational moment in this movie. And this kind of gets to the mom and she finally allows Andy to race as Andrew.
Geneva, don't even go there. Just go back and fold your laundry and think about something else.
So like this is literally like Drag Race, but the opposite. In 2001, they get to the race and Andy is in character as Andrew. While waiting on the race to start, she eyes another guy on another team. During the first race, Andy flops after getting stuck at the starting line and comes in last place as the guy she was eyeing earlier wins. This mystery guy notices a bunch of girls at Andy's truck or whatever, and he's like wondering why so many girls are over there even though she just came in last place. And it's really because the mom did one of the girls' nails and the girl went and told like all her friends or whatever, so now all of them want their nails done. So the mystery guy and his friend that's on his team is like, you know, maybe you should go talk to homeboy, get some, you know, girl advice or whatever. So I'm going to stick to calling Andy by her actual pronouns of she, her, but just remember everyone is thinking she's a guy, so keep that in mind. The second race happens and after starting off in front, Andy is knocked off her bike and loses yet again. Andy watches the last race and mystery guy comes in first once again. We find out his name is Dean and Dean comes over to introduce himself to Andy. Andy kind of slips up because the night before she does her nails and she still has green nail polish, which kind of slays because green is my favorite color. And Dean actually compliments her nail polish and thinks that once, you know, he starts winning, all the guys are going to start, you know, painting their nails.
Dude, you start winning, everybody's gonna be wearing that stuff.
Who are you to get me wet? Who are you to get me wet? Who are you to get me wet? Did I ask you to get me wet? No.
Dean invites Andy to a tour of like his team's cabin, truck, whatever. And while there, Andy discovers that Dean has a crush on the owner of his team's daughter. Dean strikes up a deal with Andy, pretty much saying, I'll teach you the ropes of racing or whatever if you can help me out with getting this girl, because I saw a whole bunch of girls at your like truck or whatever and it seems like you know a lot about them and can really, you know, get in tune with girls. Andy originally declines because she believed that she wasn't going to be coming back to race anymore. She thought that she was just going to be racing just this day, but I guess the mom has to change her heart and allows Andy to come back to race. So then she goes to Dean and is like, yeah, you know, I'm going to take you up on your deal. I'll talk to homegirl. You show me the ropes of racing. And they begin racing together. So Dean and Andy begin practicing together and Andy is clearly falling for this guy. Like, he's cute, he's nice, whatever. So why not? They go to this lake and Dean tries to get Andy to go in the lake with him. And of course, Dean still thinks Andy is a guy. So he's like, you know, take off your shirt, bro. And Andy's like,
You're such a girl, Carson, come on.
You did not just call me a girl.
Yeah? What you gonna do about it, huh?
like, is this not giving like bromance that's gonna turn into an actual romance? Like, am I the only one seeing this? So Andy tries to hold up her end of the deal by going to talk to the girl that Dean likes, which her name is Farron. But Farron's all like, yeah, Dean's not really my type. I like guys who are all about me and not about racing, blah, blah, blah. And Andy is kind of like relieved because, you know, she likes Dean. And knowing that Farron doesn't like him, that means Andy can, you know, mac up on him. But not really, because she's a guy. It's kind of like She's the Man. Why did I just make that connection? When did She's the Man come out? 2006? Oh, they stole this whole plot from motocross. She tells the truth and she's kind of harsh on him. She's like, pretty much is like, yeah, you don't really need her. She's not worth it.
I don't think she's right for you. I think you ought to bag it.
Are you whacked? This girl is amazing.
She's not into it. She's looking for something different. Basically, as far as I can tell, she's looking for a guy who drives an expensive foreign car and who lives within walking distance of the Galleria.
But then the gayest line I've ever heard ever is said by Dean.
You don't want to help me with the training anymore, you know?
No. Look, Carson, you have got major potential. All right? And tomorrow, I'm gonna work you until you can't get out of bed.
Like, this is your guy friend, and you're gonna say, I'm gonna work you until you can't get out of bed? Like, he knows what he's doing. Like, he's giving...
Gay.
Or maybe not, because Andy tries to hug him and he's like, oh my god, bro, get off me, bro. But like, you know, maybe he's just not comfortable in front of all these people. He's giving bi king. And you know, I love my bi kings. Like, bi kings, hit me up. I love y'all. In the first race of day 2, Andy does way better and Dean is on the sideline cheering for her. Like, look, he is cheering for his man, who's really a girl. Later at the hotel, Andy sees Dean and he's upset because he has no shot with Farron. And Andy's like, you know, I know what it's like to, you know, want something that you can't have, which is clearly like her saying, I want you, but I can't have you, you know? Andy continues to do well in the races, and the night before, she came up with a plan to get Dean and Farron to go out. So earlier in the movie, I didn't mention it, but Andy had tickets to see NSYNC, which is a big deal in 2001, like, huge. And she and her friend was gonna go, but since she's now racing, she's not going. And she's like, okay, maybe I can give you these tickets to NSYNC. We can just kind of mention it around Farron, and of course Farron's gonna want to go because it's in fucking sync. And this works, and Dean and Farron go out, and Andy's kind of upset because, you know, she still likes Dean, but she's happy she helped him out. Andy finishes first in the final race, and she actually ends up placing 3rd overall, which was actually pretty good considering she was flopping at the beginning. And she's very happy about it, but as she's walking up to her truck, the dad is here and he is not happy. The mom tries to, you know, talk to him, pretty much saying like, you know, this is as much my idea as it is hers, but the dad's not trying to hear it, and he's like, pack up, we're leaving. So Andy's packing up, she's very distraught and on the verge of tears. Dean comes over and he's like pretty much saying how good the concert went with Farron and how they're like together now, and Andy is like literally about to burst into tears, and she's like trying to hold it together, and Dean's like, you know, you don't want these guys to see you upset and crying because, you know, they're going to use that to their advantage. And she's just like, you know, whatever, thanks. And she just is so sad. And then the dad walks over and Dean looks at him and looks at her, and like he can kind of tell something is not right with the dad, or something is going on, because the look that he gave was giving, I know what's going on, or I have a feeling I know what's going on. Back at home, Andy and her dad argue about her not racing, and her mom pretty much calls him out on his hypocrisy and his misogyny.
Well, the truth of the matter is, she is just as good as any of those boys. And as far as her getting hurt, well, if you're willing to allow Andrew to take that risk, don't you think it's a bit hypocritical that you're not also willing to do the same thing for Andrea?
The next day, the dad introduces the family to the new driver that he found overseas, a French guy named Rene. Andy finds out that Rene has been kicked off multiple teams due to unsportsmanlike conduct, and he's kind of a menace already. Like, he took Andy's room, he insults the little brother Jason's like mechanical skills, as well as insults the bike that Andy was riding on that she was winning on. He also gives us like a women needs to stay in the kitchen comment towards Andy, which is like, girl, you really thought you ate that.
I see you finally figured out why you are most useful to the family.
What is that supposed to mean?
Merci.
Andrew brings up to his dad about Renee's past, which his dad already knows about, but he hired him anyway because he's a good racer. Like, this guy is clearly not good, but whatever. They're back at the race, and while Andy is talking to Andrew, Dean and Farron walk up.
Look, you've got to pretend, you've got to be me, okay? No, I mean, you've got to be you. I mean, you've got to be me being you, okay? Because technically, I don't exist.
And this is when Dean is formally introduced to Andy as her. And Dean clearly is kind of feeling it. And he gives her the same look that he gave her earlier in the movie when Andy was being Andrew. Like, I'm telling y'all, bi king energy.
Hello there, Dean. We were actually just talking about how thankful Andy is for you taking time with him yesterday.
Oh, I had a great time too, Mrs. Carson.
In the first race, Renee lives up to his reputation and knocks off another racer and wins, but not everyone seems to like the dirty racing as Renee gets a lot of boos. Now that Andy can be herself, she can fully flirt with Dean, which he takes advantage of, and when Andy leaves, Dean is confused because he feels like he already knows her, which he does. Andy sees Renee leaving another team's trailer and Andy calls him out. Her dad walks up and Renee says that he was seeing how a real team functions and, they were just showing him around. The dad believes him much to Andy's dismay, and he also tells her that she needs to apologize to him, which is like, this dad really wants to get punched in the face. Like, he's so freaking aggy. So the mom tells the dad that he's making a big mistake not allowing Andy to ride and that Renee is just not a good fit for the team. The dad sees Renee and Andy arguing, and Renee actually puts his hands on her, like he pushes her.
All I'm trying to do is help my family out, okay?
Your family is a joke. Now I am warning you for the last time. Stay out of my face.
Hey, you okay?
Dad, I'm just trying to apologize.
Wait here.
And this is finally what sends the dad over and fires Renee. He talks to Andy about how he wished that he had a girl because he didn't want his child to also be into racing because of how dangerous it is, but she kind of defied that, which sometimes these movies are hard to watch again because it's just like, girl, like what the fuck, that don't even make no sense, but okay. So Andy is gearing up the race as Andrew again, and Dean walks up to Andrew, but is actually Andy, and he's like,
your sister, is she dating anyone?
And Andy's like, well, don't you have a girlfriend, Farron? And Dean's like, well, yeah, we're dating, but I don't think it's gonna work out because we have nothing in common. But we then also see Farron is clearly flirting with Renee, who is already on a new team, so are they even dating now? I don't fucking know. So in the final race, Andy beats Renee, Dean comes over to congratulate Andy, and Renee is salty. So as the camera crew and the interviewers are coming around, Renee says that Andrew is pulling a trick that only a girl can pull off. And everyone's like, oh, what does that mean? And Renee's like, ask Andrew, he's right behind you. And it's actually Andrew in like this piss poor disguise.
Why don't you ask Andrew Carson?
All right, well, Andrew...
No, the real Andrew Carson. He's right behind you.
I don't know what he's talking about. Obviously, the guy took one to the head.
Andy comes clean and she's like, yeah, I'm a girl. I'm Andy's twin sister. And, I've been racing this whole time. It kind of backfires on Renee because everyone is just very impressed that, she beat all these guys, and it's actually not against the rules to race as a girl because the mom has been looking at the rule book pretty much this entire movie. So the interviewer questions Andy and if she will get like the factory sponsorship for winning, and throughout the entire movie we saw this guy who was like the representative of the people who was going to be awarding this sponsorship, and he was always on the phone with his boss, and he was always just like, I gotta do what the boss says, blah blah blah, and we're just like, okay, whatever. But then we see at the end of the movie that his boss is this woman, this black queen of a woman, and she's just like, girl, you did that. She's like that video of Michelle Obama was like, hey queen, girl, you have done it again. Constantly raising the bar for us all and doing it flawlessly. Like, that's what she's giving here. She's like, yeah, Andy kind of ate this up. We're of course going to give her the sponsorship, and we're going to give the entire team a sponsorship. Fucking Andrew, the dad, the brother, whatever. And everyone's like, yay, yay, yay. But Dean, isn't too happy about this revelation. Like, he was looking very sad that Andy lied to him throughout the entire movie. And maybe he was just kind of sad because he's like, I was attracted to her as a guy and a girl. Maybe he's having a bi awakening, which is why he's so upset. Not me trying to push the gay agenda on this movie, but bruh, I'm telling you, is so gay coded. At the end of the movie, the mom reveals that this sponsorship allows them to sign on another rider, and she's like, we already have someone that wants to be on our team. He's right outside. Andy goes outside, and of course it's Dean, and they have a little flirting going on. He's like, yeah, I want to be on y'all's team, and she's like, well, you gotta beat me in a race first. And then the end of the movie shows them two racing. They jump up in the air, they do a little, and it's the end of the movie. So, the movie seemed a lot gayer when I rewatched it a couple years ago, but it still gives off, just a sprinkle of glitter, Like, Dean is giving Bi King energy. I'm sorry, Motocross was Disney's first gay movie. I'm putting that out there right now. So yeah, that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.